Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade. So, today we're going to be taking a bit of a look at some of the Season 4 stuff, or at least what we know so far. We've got a fair few screenshots now. We've also got a little bit of footage of some of the new units in action, and a few little screenshots of some of the new maps. And even though we'll probably end up going to have like a preview event, we'll probably have a preview stream in a week or so anyway. A lot of people are asking just for kind of my initial impressions on some of the units we've got so far and some of the information we have. So yeah, I kind of wanted to take a look at some of the video of, we've got the footage in action, of the units in action, talk a little bit about what we know about the units and the new maps and stuff and what's coming so far. I guess I will just qualify this by saying I'm probably just going to base this on the information we've been given on our version. I know that if you know sort of the Frontier version, the Asian version, they've pretty much just about released pretty much from today, I think. So I'm not going to be drawing stuff from them because sometimes things change and we don't quite know exactly what's going to come over from there. I'm sure we'll get 90% of it, but they end up sometimes taking a few bits sort of in and out. And I don't want to do my video based on something that's on the Asian server which we end up not getting. So we'll just be basing it on the information we've been given so far. But anyway, let's hop into some of the video we've seen of the footage. So first up, we have got the Janissaries. I must admit, when we first got the announcement of Season 4 and we saw some of the clips, I thought these Janissaries, these musket units, were going to be a tier 5 unit. I thought they were going to be the top tier, end tier unit, sort of like the Pavese crossbows, their sort of equivalent. Actually, they're coming in at tier 3, or a 3-star unit. And yeah, that really kind of surprised me. It seems they aren't going to have a super rate of fire, but are going to be sort of fairly slow but hard hitting. They seem to have this sort of resting fork, which is going to have sort of an added ability, which means they're going to be able to sort of aim a little bit more accurately, but lose mobility, almost like a setup phase, effectively. And they're going to have this option for a larger lead bullet to stun opponents. Generally, I think this seems fine as a unit. We'll have to see kind of how it comes in health-wise. So long as they don't have too much health, sort of like the Pavese do, they're obviously not going to have a shield, so they're going to be fairly vulnerable to enemy ranged units, I think. Particularly if they've got that setup phase, which is going to limit their mobility. And I think when you add on to the fact that, you know, they're only tier 3, so their damage probably isn't going to be crazy high, then I think they're going to kind of make for an interesting unit. We'll have to see how their damage competes for their tier. But, you know, you're going to be coming up at that sort of 3-star against things like Namkhans and stuff. So we're going to have to kind of wait and see actually how that pans out. My only concern would be, I wonder how much those large lead bullets are going to stun. Hopefully they don't have crazy amounts of stun damage to them. Then we move on to the ASAPs. Well, that's how I'm going to go for the pronunciation anyway. A 4-star melee unit armed with these sort of fairly short swords and a really small little buckler shield. Kind of an interesting unit at 4 stars. I mean, that means it's coming in against things like men-at-arms. It's that sort of level. These are going to be higher tier than the Conqueror we saw in Season 3. And they have some interesting, if perhaps slightly concerning traits. So they say ASAPs are able to provide and maintain continuous attacks and a counter-attacking posture. Sounds from the information we've been given, they're going to be like a fairly aggressive unit, all about the attacking. I mean, and we see this in the fact that, you know, their shields are the same size as a dinner plate. So, you know, it kind of makes sense. It also says, when under pressure, units can deliver a devastating charge attack that gives them space to regroup. Sounds like maybe they can charge at very close range and be able to sort of stun or knock enemy units back in a way that perhaps other units can't. You know, if you charge a unit of prefecture guards at point blank range, they basically don't really charge anything because they don't get any time to build any momentum up. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that sort of pans out, particularly at 4-star. I mean, if they give them a fair bit of ability, then these could be very decent units. I mean, equally they could become sort of the new Conqueror if we're not careful. So yeah, let's see how they pan out, see what the damage is like as well, particularly where they say they can provide that continuous attack. The third of the new units is the Sipahi. Well, that's, again, the pronunciation I'm going to go for. Corrections in the comments. These are going to be like a heavy mace-armed cavalry. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is a good idea or not. Kind of interesting to see how they play out, though. So, in effect, yeah, they're going to be like a heavily armoured cavalry, given some basically big maces on sticks, for want of a better word. And they're going to have this sort of almost look like hopping ability, if you see from the footage, where they're sort of using the horses to basically kick units in front of them. I worry it's going to be a little bit like the shield bash of the Conqueror, so we'll kind of have to see how that plays out. But they are, of course, a 4.5-star unit. This is, you know, effectively a Golden Era unit. So perhaps not that surprising. They're going to be a pretty decent unit, I think. We know already they're going to be a heavy cavalry, so we'll have to see what their armour values are like. I suspect they're probably going to be fairly high. And for the 2 traits that we get given, again, the sheer weight and momentum of a planned Sipahi attack is hard to behold. So it's the idea that they're going to have perhaps, if not an unstoppable charge, then certainly a strong charge. And they can deliver a breakthrough attack and send opposing forces flying. And I guess that probably refers to this sort of mount kick sort of type ability that they have. Certainly going to be an interesting unit. Kind of see how they play out. Hopefully they're not too much of a pest. I think they're probably going to be certainly a good one for field battles. Kind of have to see how they play a little bit in siege battles as well. And finally, of course, we move on to the top tier, the 5-star unit, the Sela. Out of all the units we've got, these are the ones I'm most looking forward to. A proper golden era 5-star melee unit. I don't feel like we've really got much like this. Obviously, the most comparable thing is going to be Iron Reapers, but I think, from what I'm hoping at least, these guys are going to be more about their melee ability than about their charge. And we really haven't got a lot of... Well, we don't have a lot of axe units for a start. I mean, other than woodcutters, I mean, these are going to be the only things we really have. But they're a proper melee-focused unit, and they're not shielded, which is kind of nice. All our sort of melee-focused units, 4-star and below, are all sort of shielded units. These are all about the damage, but without the shields. I guess you might compare them to something like a halberdier, but halberdiers are all about bracing and formations. You know, fortebraccios, again, all about that bracing and that formational type abilities, whereas these guys are just all about that raw damage. They're not out of formation, charging in, getting stuck in and swinging those axes. And yeah, these are the unit that excites me the most. They talk about 2 traits. It says spread out your troops to extend their reach of their attacks. Okay, seems a bit irrelevant if I'm honest. But call out your Sela and they will fight harder to defend your hero's position. Sounds a little bit like a sort of a prefecture drill, for want of a better word. Sort of like a bit of a shock attack or some sort of equivalent, where they're just going to fight really much harder once you're there and you activate this ability. So yeah, this is probably the unit I'm looking forward to the most. I think they look really cool. I don't know what they call them. They call them halberds in this. I think they're more like sort of like a bardiche, something like that. These giant axes that they have. Let me know what you think. But yeah, certainly a really cool looking unit and easily the one I'm most looking forward to. Hopefully, I guess we'll be unlocking them probably towards the end of the season, kind of like it was with the Pavis. I'm assuming they're going to do a similar sort of system. But yeah, definitely the unit I'm most looking forward to. So once we move away from units, we move on to have a quicker look at the maps. So it seems we're going to be getting 2 new maps added in for Season 4, both a new Siege battle map and a new Field battle map. It seems the Siege battle map is going to be basically based on Constantinople, or modern-day Istanbul. Yeah, obviously it's one of the most famous cities of sort of the medieval world. Very, very cool to have that introduced as sort of a siege map. Nice that we've got a siege map based on sort of a real place. That's really kind of cool. And I think by all accounts it's going to be a pretty big map. It looks like we've got like some tunnels going on, so we're going to have some sort of flanking maneuvers available, which is kind of cool to see introduced. Hopefully it's sort of a fairly well balanced map. Certainly kind of one of the maps I'm more excited for that we've had introduced in recent years. So yeah, kind of excited to see some of the new map and stuff coming in. Obviously, we can expect the Battle Pass to work pretty similarly to kind of how it did in Seasons 1, 2 and 3. I think it's probably going to be split into a premium and a free version as before. There's probably also going to be a seasonal store where you're going to earn, you know, the equivalent seasonal currency, whatever that works out to be, and you'll be able to get things from there. Previously, generally, the free Battle Pass hasn't been too bad. There's normally a reasonable range of stuff you can get just by levelling your way along. Normally, the rewards go up to level 100, and then sort of 100 to 200 is just extra seasonal currency. Again, I think that's probably going to stay the same. I don't see any big changes on the horizon for that. So even if you're not a premium Battle Pass user, certainly recommend that you at least sort of grind your way, at least along the initial stages of the free Battle Pass, because some of the stuff, particularly some of the rare armor schematics and stuff like that that you can normally get from the seasonal store, are well worth picking up. Although we will have a completely separate video on the Battle Pass once we get more information on that. If you buy the premium version, obviously we'll have already flicked through some of these screenshots of what we're getting of the new hero attires, as well as some of the unit attires and some of the mount attires that we're going to be able to be unlocked with the Battle Pass. And finally, just a few last little things we've got to cover. It looks like in the open world there's going to be some more buildable, I don't know what you'd call them, facilities, I guess. It looks like a medical centre, maybe some sort of rally point, and maybe some sort of supply or siege depot or something like that. So these are probably going to be in addition to field camps, hopefully. Whether they're going to be territory war based, I would have thought so, but we'll probably learn some more details about these kind of as they get introduced later on, as we get nearer to the seasonal date. And we also have got some sort of new elements of a new seasonal doctrine system being introduced. Again, we're not fully sure how this works. From what little bit I can gather so far, it's going to be something like you have the ability to swap or move doctrines around without having to destroy them. I think this is probably going to be limited to the new Season 4 units though. But I guess, again, we'll find and see more information of this as we push closer to the time. As I say, I think there's going to be a preview event for this for the content creators, which I'll hopefully be streaming. Once I know more on that though, I'll certainly announce the date, and we can all sort of have a look at it in real time, and we can ask questions and stuff a little bit easier then. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have any other questions that you think I can answer, do let me know in the comments down below and I'll get back to you. Of course, subscribe to the channel for lots more Conqueror's Blade content, and I shall see you all on the next video.